Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be focusing on the energy sector with a special focus on renewable energy, expanding the spectrum of renewable energy and the dependence on it. Hopefully, we should be depending on renewable energy in a 60% capacity by the year 2040. We're going to be looking at that prospect as well. But before we start doing that, let's check out some of the stories making the news today. And we'll start off with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who met with the visiting Jordanian Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi today. During the meeting, President al-Sisi and Safadi expressed relief towards the level of coordination between the two countries. They stressed on the significance of continuing to boost bilateral economic relations and increase trade exchange, coinciding with the close political ties and historic relations binding the two Arab nations. Presidential spokesman Ahmed Fahmy said the meeting tackled close relations between Egypt and Jordan and the latest developments in the Middle East peace process. The meeting was attended by Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri and Head of the General Intelligence Major General Abbas Kamel. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi also met with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and Minister of Agriculture and Land Reclamation Sayyid al-Qusayr on Tuesday. Now, presidential spokesman Ahmed Fahmy said during the meeting, President al-Sisi reviewed the national agricultural projects nationwide in light of the steady progress achieved in the vital sector. Such projects are carried out within the framework of the state's plan to bring about radical change in Egypt's agricultural map through unprecedented efforts to reclaim millions of acres that will be added soon to the agricultural land in Egypt. President al-Sisi was also briefed on the efforts aimed at increasing and improving the productivity of acres in Egypt in terms of the quantity and quality, as Egypt's ranking of acre productivity reached one of the first five in many crops, including rice, corn and wheat. The head of state stressed that great efforts exerted to develop the agricultural sector come within the framework of a comprehensive development in which all economic sectors are integrated to achieve the highest added value. And the National Elections Authority said that work was continuing to finalize the logistical preparations to hold the presidential elections. Now, a statement was made during a meeting of the authority presided by Councillor Walid Hamza to discuss the measures. In the statement, the authority said they discussed guarantees for the transparency of the election process. It said discussions also focused on decisions to be taken to secure the organization and the timeline of the election. These were the main stories making the news today, but now turning our attention to tonight's topic. Now, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi actually instructed to increase the productivity of renewable energy and its components. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
President Fattah al-Sisi is keen to follow up on efforts aimed at securing the needs of citizens and economic activities with regards to the provision of electricity in a sustainable and stable manner, avoiding recurrence of power outages in the future. President has called for the expansion of efforts to manufacture renewable energy components, especially wind turbines and solar panels, to enhance contribution of renewable energy sources in the country. The President has given his directives to continue the implementation of national plans related to enhancing the role of renewable energy and magnifying its value with an aim to diversify energy supply sources on which industrial, agricultural and urban development depends in Egypt. The President has directed the government to continue the intensive work to reduce burdens on citizens as soon as possible, while strengthening efforts to maximize the return and added value of electricity and energy projects in a way that provides the required resources to deal with all potential situations in light of the continuous global fluctuations in political, economic and environmental factors. The head of state has also instructed that national plans be promoted to increase the amount of renewable energy and maximize its value with the aim of diversifying sources of energy supply in partnership with the private sector and the oldest global expertise in this field. The President also emphasizes national plans to boost renewable energy and maximize its value with the aim of diversifying sources of energy supply in partnership with the private sector and the oldest global expertise in this field. He has probed projects which are being executed by the Ministry of Electricity nationwide, especially in the new and renewable energy sectors, as well as electricity linkage projects with neighboring countries. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said Egypt adopted a series of important measures that enabled it to occupy a competitive place in the green hydrogen sector thanks to political leadership's keenness on transition to a green economy as outlined in Sustainable Development Strategy SDS Egypt Vision 2030. Madbouli said Egypt has enormous and promising potential in producing renewable energy at competitive prices, saying solar and wind energy are among the main components of the green hydrogen industry. He further said that the state has necessary infrastructure to produce green hydrogen and then export it to Europe, and that there is a high domestic demand for the use of green hydrogen in energy-intensive industries. The Prime
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're joined here tonight in the studio by engineer Mohamed Salman, the renewable energy consultant and member of the board of directors at the Arab Council for Sustainable Energy. Engineer Salman, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for hosting. Yes.
Sir, now, before we start talking about renewable energy and everything that is related to energy, let's start talking about the electrical and power outages that the country has been suffering from over the past couple of months. Now, we already established that we have 3 of the biggest electrical power plants in the world by Siemens, and we also have the Bin Ben power plant, also the Ras Gharib one. So we do, and we're talking about exporting electrical energy. So how come we are suffering from power outages over the summer period?
Okay, nice.
In very simple terms.
Yes, I hope so. I hope so. Really, I didn't expect such a question, but I will answer. Okay. Regarding, I think it is now over. It's the grid now has been stable, and also the generation has fed with enough or sufficient fuel. So there is, I think it's a stop now, or at a minimum now. Okay, but the point in what have been done, or what we have suffered due to the lack of sufficient fuel. Okay, so, let me explain how does it work. The power plant generate electricity based on the fuel supply coming to the power plant. Okay, if the fuel supply is not sufficient to meet the generation needs or demand, then there is a problem, and maybe the power plant itself can shut down. And then at that time, maybe it's completely shut down and completely blackout. So what the people do, or the Minister of Electricity and the employees of that, what they should do, they should make load shedding in a certain values and a certain geographical areas, then to minimize the load based on the fuel supply. Okay?
Okay.
And by calculation, really, I make a certain solution for that. It's not a big issue if we can start this job as early as possible. It is around 3,000 megawatt for 2 hours. Okay, and I make certain, really, let me explain it in a clear area here. Okay, it is the solution here. Okay, it's easy now to consider it. If we can say 3,000 megawatt off with 2 hours, that means 1,140 megawatt hours. This is the shortage of the power supply, okay, or energy supply. That how we can compensate this value, okay? We can compensate this by 1 giga of PV system. Okay, and can be this can be compensated, and 1 giga is a big issue, really. It's of PV system, but we can also add some wind energy with it, and already we have a certain contracts to 500 megawatt PV system, and also 200 megawatt with Aqua also. So we have around 700 megawatt already signed the contract, okay, regarding to the solar. Also for wind, we have around 500 megawatt is already contracted, and also a lot of gigawatts have been signed as MOU. If we replace these values of renewable energy to the grid, then we can save the fuel that we need, and at that time we can increase the penetration of renewable energy to the grid, and stop the outages. We should start and accelerate the job from now, because the coming summer, maybe the value of growth of of load will be higher. Really, in the previous 5 years,
Yes.
the peak load was not that growth at big value. Normally, the growth rate around from 3 to 5%. And also in this year, it's around 5%. The highest peak load, or the peak load was...
What caused this increase in the demand?
The growth in the country. In the country also, the industry, and also the population and connection, also the illegal connection and thieves, all issues, such issues should be considered with the distribution, because this is the end user should control. Demand side management should be considered in with the distribution companies, okay, to save energy, which will lead to save fuel supply to the power plant.
Yes.
Okay.
Engineer Salman, now, so if we aim to make up for the 1 gigawatts in terms of using renewable, renewable energy, so we will be depending on solar energy, and we will be depending on wind energy as well. But this is a process that will probably take some time. So is there some sort of a temporary solution that we can start applying, as in maybe distribution, redistributing the power network around the country, having some sort of a privatization, or, as you've mentioned before, a liberalization of the electrical power, have bonds maybe for this sector?
I want to add one point regarding to the PV system, which is immediate action. It's within months. It's not, doesn't need a long time.
Yes.
Which is the small size PV units that can be installed on houses or in compounds, okay? And really, I provide such a study to the Parliament, to the Parliament Shuyukh, okay? The head of the Committee of Energy. We provided this study that if we install 10 kilowatt PV system, 10 kilowatt peak PV system all over the countries, it will collect a lot for mosques, for hospitals, for governmental buildings, for compounds, villas, and the solar PV system. Or solar pump, solar for irrigation. This is also should be used. No solar pump or no pump should use electricity now, because at a little, at a minimum. But we can use the PV system, because this is the easiest one and the cheapest one. If we start this strategy as soon as possible, and I wish by this discussion we find an investor to say, okay, we can cover the area, then it will be solved immediately, really. And also the temperature now is become better. Then I think and I hope that no more outages. But in the same time, to save fuel, we should use this job as soon as possible. Beside this PV system on the rooftop PV system, we can make also additional issue regarding to the energy efficiency. Energy efficiency for the factories, for the hospitals, for governmental buildings, for hotels, all this, okay? One more point. Once we said renewable energy, that does not mean only power plants, big farm or wind farm or windmills and PV farms, or rooftop PV system, but also we can use renewable energy in absorption system for air conditioning and cooling. You know, air conditioning and cooling take a lot of energy from the grid,
yes,
and will cost much. Once we compensate this air conditioning with the absorption system, which can be fed by renewable energy, then we also save fuel. And this is very important factor.
yes.
Okay, so we hope that we have a lot of solution, but we want to start it. Yes.
Well, let's focus now on renewable energy. Now, everybody knows the Ras Gharib power plant responsible for wind energy, and the Bin Ben one in Upper Egypt for the solar energy. And we are looking forward to expanding our productivity of renewable energy, and it's the language of the world now. Everybody's trying to become environmentally friendly, green energy, green economy. So we're talking about solar energy, talking about wind energy, also green hydrogen, green ammonia, and they seem to be, I mean, they are interconnected one way or another, but we need to expand on the productivity of this. So the first question is, how much do we have, or how much do we know the know-how, the expertise, and the finances to expand these, the productivity of renewable energy, of green ammonia, green hydrogen, especially that electrical, I mean, part of the whole process is electrolysis, which you still need electricity for it. So how expensive can it be, and how feasible is it to actually try and expand to produce renewable energy?
Okay, I'll tell you the truth, really. Okay, as usual, and most of who see me, yes, I am clear answer in that. We have energy mix and we have a strategy. Okay, and should be 20% by 2020, and almost achieved, not 100% achieved, but almost achieved. And by 2030 should be 2035 should be 42, and now upgraded to 60.
Yes.
So this is if it is this is the target. This is the target of renewable energy penetration. This needs huge amount of money. If it is done by the same way of Bin Ben, I believe that it is not a solution, because it will be a load or peers on the transmission company. And we are going, or the country, or the strategy now, to liberate the sector. And this can be done if PPA can be done within the liberalization of the sector. If it is done by this, it will be helpful, because now if you make this PPA from the investors with the EETC, and the EETC, he will be the operator of the system. Then it is we are looking for competition, and we are looking for competitive price of kilowatt hours. But if you fix this with huge amount of gigawatts with a certain value, then where's the competition will be? So we hope that it can be done within the liberalization of the sector. And really the good news that I can tell you now, there is a grant from EBRD with the Egypt era to make a study, and already the documentation for this process is now on the internet or the website of Egypt era for a public hearing and to make any revising, and this is good point for that. So once done by this way, then we can save money, and also the country will not pay such a huge value, and will be invested, and the environment will be better for all. Okay?
Yes.
So we hope so.
Engineer Salman, now, so we are trying to mix and diversify our resources for renewable energy, be it green ammonia, hydrogen, solar, and wind. But a lot of observers and analysts are saying, well, the Bin Ben plant is really good, solar energy, the wind plants in Ras Gharib. But the problem of the energy generated and produced by these plants is that it really targets the area around these plants, and you really can't afford to distribute it all over the country. So is it feasible, or trying to expand all the wind and solar plants, but still we won't be able to manage to distribute it all over the country? Or are we working on expanding the grid? And should we depend on this more than green hydrogen and green ammonia if they are a bit cheaper?
I want to tell one issue regarding to the generation distribution, or distributed generation. Distributed generation. This is with the small sizes and utility sizes can be helpful, and will be at the end user of electricity. This also save money, and in the same time makes the customer self-using or self-generation of him. Regarding to the Bin Ben or the huge farms to be installed at a certain area and connected to the grid, there is a losses in the process. The losses regarding in transmission and losses in distribution. And the total of these losses is around, I wouldn't like to say if it is around the 20%. Okay, it's average one.
Yes.
Okay, some companies higher than 20% and some less than 20%. But this is means that 1/5 of the electricity
Produced.
of the produced electricity has been lost. So work on the end user. This is very helpful. Regarding to the green hydrogen, once make a big power plants or renewable plants like wind or solar, then the off-taker make it who will use it. Instead of PPA with the EETC. And EETC will sell again to this using of hydrogen. Even we don't know when the hydrogen electrolyzers will start. One issue also, the good news that 3 days ago we have filling one ship. A green ship has been filled with the green methanol in the port of East Port Said, and this is also good news. But this methanol, green methanol, does not generated from Egypt because we haven't such system. In future it will be, okay? But the process itself and logistics is there. Then we succeeded in one portion, and we need to succeed in the balance of supply chain of the green methanol or green ammonia, because the green methanol or green ammonia can be stored and can be transported better than the hydrogen itself.
Yes.
I know that the visibility of the generation of hydrogen so far needs more technologies, and it will be competitive maybe sooner.
Yes. Well, why can't we sort of have multinational companies or foreign investors trying to work and pitch in their offer to actually try and produce methanol and produce hydrogen and start off this sort of competition, or maybe this would encourage the private sector and domestic companies here to start getting and learning the know-how, the expertise of it, and maybe on the long run, in 10 or 15 years' time, we would be able to produce our own methanol, to produce liquid hydrogen, and not just liquefying other sources of energy.
Really, it's in process and takes time. But once the green methanol has been stored or founded at our area by a certain supplier of this green methanol, then he can also start for generate hydrogen and then generate green methanol. But if we can build the renewable energy at Red Sea and also West Bank of Nile and Sohag and this area, we should submit or transmit this huge amount of electricity to the area of hydrogen production. So this is also infrastructure.
Yes.
It needs to be infrastructure, and a lot of payment will be considered. So all this strategy and this infrastructure should be considered from now. Okay, and also we can also maybe the production of hydrogen can be started at the area or near the area of generation of renewable energy. So this can be trade off and make it a best scenario to be used or utilized in this area. And this can be done with also with the investors.
Well, something that maybe, I mean, a lot of observers are also saying, well, one of the main issues or difficulties with liquid hydrogen or producing hydrogen is actually the storage of it, because you would need some sort of a salty soil, a salty ground. So everybody starts thinking of the Western Desert near Siwa Oasis or certain areas around the Red Sea, and it could prove difficult to actually manage to store liquid hydrogen. Will this be a problem, and if so, how can that be solved?
Regarding to the hydrogen itself, the hydrogen it's also generated in electric power plants for cooling generators. It's hydrogen, we have the expertise for that, how we handled it. But the point that how we can, the physicals, the physics of properties, the properties physicals of the hydrogen, you cannot transmit the to long time. But if you make it liquefied hydrogen, that means cooling, and this means around maybe 20% or 25% of hydrogen you will consume to reach the balance. So the best one is the green methanol or green ammonia. It will be better, but visibility should be provided by the investor himself. Then he can start and do the job. If it is salty or how we can use it, this is investor job, really.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, as Engineer Salman has mentioned, well, Egypt is looking forward to about 42% dependence on renewable energy by 2035 and hopefully 60% by 2040. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
Egypt aims to reach 60% of dependence on renewable energy by 2040. Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy Mohamed explained that the Egyptian strategy was aimed at reaching 42% of the energy mix coming from renewable energy by the year 2030. but this strategy is currently being updated based on the existing data and the availability of wind and solar energy resources and their low prices. He added that renewable energy plants from sun or wind will be the least expensive in the coming years compared to conventional power plants that depend on fuel. Shaker added that announcing the prices per kilowatt hour of sun and wind is considered the lowest in the world, one of the most important measures stimulating investment in this field, explaining that the price of kilowatt per hour of sun is 2 cents dollars and 2.4 cents dollars for wind. He explained that the state strategy aims to increase contribution of renewable energy in electric energy mix and diversify sources of electric energy production by benefiting from Egypt's natural wealth, especially new and renewable energy sources. Shaker stressed Egypt's interest in renewable energies through an ambitious plan aimed at increasing the state of renewable energies to reach about 10,000 megawatts in 2023. Shaker stated that Egypt plans to raise the proportion of renewable energy in its energy mix to 42% by 2035, following its achievements of 20% by 2020 as Egypt's National Climate Strategy 2050 seeks to lower carbon emissions by utilizing alternative energy forms and renewable energy sources. Minister Shaker reviewed achievements that the electricity and renewable energy sector has achieved, stressing the sector's interests in spreading the uses of renewable energies, reducing carbon emissions, and increasing the share of private sector participation in these projects. He stressed his ministry's interest in preserving the environment by raising efficiency of production units, relying on high-efficient production units and expanding renewable energy projects. The minister noted Egypt's clear richness in renewable energy sources, especially wind and solar energy, which qualifies it to be one of the largest producers of renewable energy. The country's dedication to supporting clean energy initiatives across different sectors, which was strengthened by hosting the Climate Change Conference COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh last November. Egypt has signed numerous memoranda of understanding with international entities in the past year to encourage foreign investment in green hydrogen and establish itself as a hub for hydrogen production.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, continuing our discussion with the engineer Salman. Now, sir, Egypt has been really aiming for the title an energy hub, really looking forward and working on, I mean, with the discovery of the Zohr gas field, the establishment of the 3 electrical power plants, trying to export energy to different parts of the world. So, and now with renewable energy as well. So maybe now the demand for electrical energy is high, is at its peak, 5% as you've managed, a 5% increase during the summer season, but it won't be the case for the rest of the year. And if we do produce more electrical energy and produce more renewable energy, there will be excess. So the question is, we're now working on expanding and increasing the production of renewable energy, but if we have an excess of renewable energy, now comes the point of trying to store it. So what are our plans? What's the country's strategy in terms of storing renewable energy?
Okay, thank you very much, really, for your questions that you are digging. Okay.
It's renewable question, very sustainable.
Okay. The point I would like to comment regarding to the Siemens company, Siemens power plants.
Yes.
Siemens power plants is a combined cycle that have a highest efficiency power plant all over the grid in Egypt. That makes saving a huge amount of fuel. You cannot imagine if we haven't Siemens power plants and we use the normal or the traditional power plants that we have with the efficiency of 40 or 45% instead of 58%. We will use more than what we have consumed now from fuel.
Yes.
So at that time, the load shedding will be higher. So the Siemens power plant as a solution really for the supply side management with high efficient. Okay, so this is I would like to consider regarding to the Siemens. I can tell you we increased the load. The load increased by or let me by the energy growth. The energy growth will increase by 27%. This is study from 2014 to 2022. Okay.
Yes.
The growth rate of energy was 27%. We should consume or consumed fuel regarding to this 27 around this value, but due to Siemens power plants, we only consumed 1.7 only percent. 107%, but the growth of energy 127%. So this means we saved a lot of fuel due to the improvement of efficiency of power plants. Okay, this is regarding to the Siemens. One more point regarding to the storage system.
Yes.
There is a fact for renewable energy, if it is wind or PV system. It is intermittent. In normal power plants or traditional power plants, the power plant is responsive to the load. Once load comes, then the power plant increase the generation to meet this demand. Okay, but in wind or PV system is the vice versa.
Yes.
What have been generated of electricity, you should accept it. Or they do not accept.
Yes.
So it is the leader here is the PV and wind. This is the energy I can produce to you. You want to use it or not? Whatever it is, it's your question. So to make this balance and to control this, we should use the storage system. Storage system, we have a project in Suez, which is 2.4 giga. A pump storage system. It is just at off-peak we generate the pumps and produce water or raise the water at a certain level, and once we need discharging this, we can reverse the water, then pumps can be a turbine and generate electricity. So this is also long time we have, but we didn't, it is in a study. Okay, so 2.4 giga storage system can be also, it needs at least 3 to 5 years to be erected.
Yes.
Okay, but there is different types of storage also can be used, like batteries in large scale or in utility scale or even in the home. One more point to cover all these issues regarding to the CSP, the concentrated solar plants. This is a solution, a good solution, and really it's a competitive price now. The kilowatt hours produced by CSP is a competitive to the traditional power plants. And I want to also to tell you also good news, really, Egypt is going on the way, but sometimes there is some delay, but it is on the way. Regarding to the CSP, there are declare or advertisement that there will be 5 CSP plants will be erected in the north of Egypt, at the north coast of Egypt. So this will be also built in a separate network, will not connect it to the grid. And this will be better also. Maybe interconnection between the 5 CSP, this will be helpful. CSP can use at with the storage itself. They can use it with the storage itself. And sometimes we can use a supplementary fuel also for the shortage or for a part of night, okay? And this is the CSP as a good solution, but also should be done with the investors.
Yes.
And who will take this electricity? Who will, the off-taker of this electricity, they should understand that it is not as cheap as the normal one. It will be higher, but if it is, you know, the North Coast is a different level.
Well, one final question, because we are running out of time now. In most, if not all, of the solutions you have mentioned, it is a question of finance and investment, and you've spoken about the liberalization of the sector. So this begs the private sector to really step in and take a bigger role, play a bigger role within the distribution and the productivity of it, and luring foreign investors and really working on the infrastructure. So the balance of how can we actually attract the private sector to chip in within the energy sector, and at the same time make sure they do achieve their margins of profit, and at the same time not exploit the Egyptian citizens, and make sure everyone's happy, everyone's content. How hard is it to reach that balance?
This is a business, and there is a regulator. He can control this market. If it is a qualified customer, he can purchase the power from a certain supplier, or unqualified customer who will connected with the governmental company, which is supported by the state or by the country. But it is in progress, and just we create the environment and regulate the market, then the investor will come. And we need the investor to make a profit.
Yes,
no problem. This is, but it is should be considered also normal. This is the normal way. There's ROI, a certain value, and we see this is the value can be considered really in the market.
Yes.
And also really, believe me, the market in Egypt is very competitive. If the liberalization of the market done is a competitive, and several investors will come. Once we declared regarding to the PV system, hundreds, I will not say tens of companies or tens of investors come to share and to invest, but hundreds of companies. So you have the choice to select.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously a very lively and important sector, the energy sector, a lot of aspects, the electrical power plants, the fossil fuels, the renewable energy, a huge room for the private sector to hop in the market and really work on expanding and benefiting the Egyptian economy and the Egyptian society at large. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. But before we go, I'd like to thank my guest, Engineer Mohamed Selim Salman, the renewable energy consultant and member of the Board of Directors of the Arab Council for Sustainable Energy. Engineer Salman, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Appreciate it, really.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Nile International. I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for joining us.